Thank you.
Oh, what's happening here? Alors. Ah. I'd like to close your presentation. Why doesn't it want? It doesn't work. Okay. Put so many things. I'm going to finish with the same thing. Okay. Yeah. Mine is yours.
Okay.
Thanks. It's okay.
It's okay.
It's all right.
Wait a minute. This.
F5.
Wait a minute. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to speak. I was supposed to speak about CLEMI's position about media education or media literacy. Of course, I'm going to do it because I'm going to speak from the CLEMI's point of view, of course, but maybe with a broader idea. That's why the title of my presentation is New Context for Old Questions. The title of the conference in general is Literacy, Media, and Citizenship. Of course, the three words are for three important concepts. Of course, we can propose couples with the word literacy and media as a main question for all of us. The question very, very old about media literacy or literacy through or by media. Second couple, literacy and citizenship. That's also even more, of course, an ancient democratic struggle, and with, you know, the quotation from Victor Hugo, which is a lot of time used in France, is every school that is open closes one more prison. Could be considered as an utopia, of course, but for a part, it's really, really important. Media and citizenship, as we all know, recover a lot of researchers with very different conclusions and results according to the different media. We are not going back to all these conclusions and researchers, but it's really important to consider this and have them in mind. Third proposition, literacy, media, and citizenship is really now an important aspect of media education, of course, and mostly when it is supported by the programs like CLEMI, of course, involving news media, all news medias, and stressing upon public debate participation. For us, for us, CLEMI, it's very important to tightly link both sides of the position of the citizen as a receiver and as producer. It's very, very important, and from the very beginning. For us, it's also linked to a main concept and proposition to develop the faculty of thinking, to think about what we are doing when we are doing it, what it means, what kind of consequences our acts could generate, etc. So that's the main context for actions in CLEMI programs. The most subversive people are those who ask questions. Why this sentence? Is because it has been from the very beginning a part of our media education activities to enforce the capacity to ask questions especially for young people. Say them, please ask questions about what's going on, about what media present as a reality or as a point of view, etc. Develop questions. Try to find answers, different answers, pluralistic answers to these questions. It's really a basis of the activity. So media education has been sought as, of course, an essential means to develop or foster citizenship. It's part of the official text which has created CLEMI. It's part of the text. It says that it's a center to develop media education in a context of citizenship education, to foster pluralism, freedom of expression, and capacity of self-express in the society. So it's for us very, very important to stress upon these aspects. And the idea is to enable young people from the very beginning of their scholarship, even very young children, to enable them to become creative and critical actors. And of course in the media and information society, where they live, where we all live. And as you can imagine, this point has exploded the last years, of course. The main axis is critical thinking. Critical thinking, all the programs involved in media education propose critical thinking as a main means to read the media, to write the media, to interpret the media, etc. Of course, we work a lot with news media, of course, but not only, because as we know today, information and the news are not only in news media, they are in a lot of different media at the moment. Of course, professional ones, but also in social media and social networks, and so that's why it's so important. It's so important today to work with a very large range of media and not only the news ones. And as I already told, it's very important also to link tightly reception and production. It's now, as we know, in this 21st century, a big part of citizens' activities to produce. Is it news? Is it information? It's very difficult to qualify the media production, especially within the social media. But it's something, it's some contents vehiculated through social media, transferred from one people to another, and is had to be taken into consideration. So that's a big part, and we try to work, and that's what we are going to see, to work a lot about these productions. Why 30 years of changes? For two different things, as Alton showed us. A lot of things began in 1982 with the Grunwald Declaration on Media Education, of course, and it was 31 years ago. And 30 years ago, that's why I chose, of course, this figure. CLEMI was created by the Minister of Education in France as a proposition to develop media education. And 30 years after, we have to struggle more and more. That's what we are seeing with Mark Reed just before. All media educators, that's a common thing for all of us. We have to struggle all the time about media education, about our objectives, about the ways we want it to be developed, etc. So I think it's part of media education to struggle, to think, to change, to move, etc. It's really that's what we saw during 30 years. It's really a moving concept. It never, that's why it's so interesting, in fact. It never stops moving, changing, because, as we all know, education is changing, media are changing, the society itself is changing, etc. So we have always to reconsider the actions we have to develop, we have to propose about media education all the time. And that's why also media educators are so linked to awareness. We spend a lot of time with the surveys to look at what's happening with young children, with the media, with citizenship, etc. So it's for us very important to consider all these changes at the same time, to propose all the time the good ways to media, to propose media literacy to young people and the other ones too, of course. So in 30 years, I'm going to go fast. Of course, internet revolution. Digital convergence of news media is really a very, very important aspect of the questions. We have to face up with this aspect. When we propose media education, we have to work about all of these points, because it's at the same time technological, professional, economical, social, political. Of course, at the same time, all these aspects are very, very important today. And of course, industrial aspects are very important. We know, we can see that all these points are changing a lot, with a lot of strong consequences. And as media educators, we have to take all these points into consideration when we propose activities, programs, etc. That's what's called, of course, media morphosis. And I like the word, that's why I chose it. And of course, we can consider technical convergence, of growing number of functions in one device as a position of mobile phone. The question of journalism is a big question for us working about and with news media, and more generally all the professionals working in this field. The development of user-generated contents of all kinds of news circulating via the media, the social media, etc. It's very important to take these points in consideration. These changes are very important because they are linked to the opinion, to the presentations all the citizens have today about everything, not only the political and the civic field. No, it's about all the everything, all kinds of interest for them. So, an important point. Last point of these changes is what's called also migratory behavior of media audiences. As Alton said, I could speak also of composite. Media at the moment, media audiences used to compose their own program with different media. Each of us here, we are used to read this kind of newspaper, listen to this program on radio, look at this program on TV, go to the social networks, etc., etc. And it's an important point to consider each people as combiners of different kinds of media and programs. That's why it's not so easy to cut strongly between traditional media and digital media today, as a lot of people would like to, because we are confronted to the question of people saying, no, there's no more media, it's only digital media literacy. As we know, it's something much more complex and difficult to afford. Just an example, if we have a look, it's just 1 year old. Average time spent per day with major media by youth adults. We can see just on this schema that TV and video go first, then the internet, etc. And we can see also that it's a specific combination of all kinds of media. So that's why it's so important to always work, when we work about media education, always work thinking of all kinds of media and the different personal combination of this media. Of course, these changes consider with double point of view. For some people and for media educators, it's considered as a negative development. For the other ones, it's the contrary, positive. We have to examine both sides. And first thing, main question for all of us, the question of the sources, which is so important about when we work about opinion representations, etc. The difficulty of for sourcing today, all kinds of data, all kinds of informations we receive from different media or sources. It's really an important question. Second point, the opinion expressed in the social media, it's linked, of course, is quite difficult for a lot of people. Of course, when you are a media literate people, you try to, of course, to identify, to choose, to just to keep links with some blogs or with some sites you like. You know, you are going to find interesting resources, but it's not the case of all the people using social media, as we all know. And it's really an important point to stress upon it. The growing individualism in media uses is often evoked as a big problem by some authors like Putnam, or who consider that for civic activities it's very important to develop social activities. And media are considered most of the time as putting people alone facing their screens, their different screens. It's not so, of course, it's not so true, of course. And it can be true for some people, it's always the case, but mostly it's not true. And at the same time, as we saw, the first media for the people remains the TV. It can be considered as very curious TV, of course, on different screens. We have to add the different, but it's always TV. And so it's most of the time a collective and even a familial habit. And second answer is that individual consumers used to interact with other ones, and it's also at the social level, and they use really a very large range of media platforms. So it's not so true to think that it is individualistic media uses. Of course, positive thing is that new experience, new forms of media and content are very important to connect socially. Not only, that's interesting because it doesn't connect only with other consumers, but also with producers, media producers. And it's something quite new and really interesting to propose new forms of media more linked to consumers' preoccupation and desires. To be surprised by others, that's something to express points of view and to be surprised by others and discover other approaches, that's an important point. We constate that too many people are used to go to read the same blogs, to the same sites, etc., to stay in the same community. That's a problem because if we want to develop media literacy linked to real citizenship, we need all of us to be to discover to discover other people, other points of view, other ways of thinking, because it's supposed, you can you can only discover something new if you go out from your community. You have to live it, and go out to see something different. So it's something we used to say to the young people in schools we work with about media education. It says, please read newspaper you never read. Go and look at TV channels you never watch. Go and try to find new websites, new blogs, etc., to read different points of view. And I think it's something very important we have to stress upon if we want to develop media literacy really linked to citizenship.
Evelyne, I apologize. Maybe more 2 or 3 minutes?
Yeah. I'm going to go. You can read it. Just a question for us, very important about literacy within information and knowledge society is this sentence from André Jordan about school. What school is supposed to do? And of course, with media and information literacy support, is I like this sentence. School should teach how to become an autodidact. And I think at the moment it's a very important challenge because as we saw, so many data, so many information are spread all around that we need to know how to do with that, how to work with that, how to achieve, how to restore, etc. And of course, a new generation, so-called C generation, for connection, community creation, and curation. I think it's important to keep the word curation because in media education we have now, and it's also linked to the sentence evoked by Kathleen about the people who spread a lot of contents and the other ones who take all the benefits. And I think it's very important now for media literate people to be able to organize good content curation because it's, I think, a new competence within media and information literacy. We don't have to forget, for me it's very important, the economical dimension. Media education now needs a very, very strong part about the economical dimension of the information society because a citizen is also and always a consumer, and it's so important to think, to decide. The question is to decide, knowing what we are doing, what kind of thing we want to consume, what kind of media we are going to choose, and why, and what are the consequences of these choices. Just one example about YouTube, for example. As we know, last week there was a big conference about YouTube, and you know this video called Gangnam Style, viewed so many times by everybody everywhere. It is now an argument for YouTube to go and see the advertisers and say, you know, so how many people are viewing what you are proposing, and you need now to give us all the advertisings, and because they want to seduce advertisers. And it's a big problem, because if YouTube take all the money from the advertisers, all the TV producers, the people who are creative, who are producing new kinds of pictures, but also all kinds of pictures, are going to be put off this market, and it's a very important goal. So I just leave about this point because it's to show how everything we are doing about media consumption can have very, very important consequences we don't think about when we look, of course, at Gangnam Style. We don't think that after it will be an argument for YouTube to take all the money from the advertiser. And it's a real problem. Okay, consumer citizen, the question of obsolescence. It's also a real question because there is, of course, digital obsolescence, but technical obsolescence, as we know, companies never stop creating demands for new products, and it's a real problem. Another question about obsolescence is the media forms obsolescence. It's a question for media educators too, because as we know, a new social network is appearing every 3 years. And there was a survey last week, and I kept the title of the article, Teens Like for Facebook on Decline. And it means, of course, there's Twitter, but it will be a new one, then a new one, etc., etc. And as media educators, we have to think about all this changing, appearing very fast, and changing faster and faster. So it requires a strong awareness and adaptability, of course. But the question of adaptability is not that we have to adopt each new form appearing on the market and on the media landscape, but we have every time to think about it, to evaluate, appreciate if it is useful, if it is interesting or not. We don't have to run after each form appearing in the media landscape. We have to choose, to decide, to evaluate. And I think it's very important to explain to the young people that they have to take decisions. If you are a media literate person, you have to take decisions all the time. You have to think all the time about what you are doing when you are reading this article, etc., or looking at these pictures, etc. It's a main important. So digital media, new form of citizenship. As you all know here, I'm sure there are big discussions about what's appearing with digital media in front of citizenship. You know, the text, the proposition of Ethan Zuckerman with the 2 levels of civic engagement, but also the appearance of era of that's so named, so called. And I think it's important, requiring new attitudes, new behaviors. Okay, I'm going to stop because I'd like the audience to have time to. So I finished with that. And now I think media literacy requires even more complex ability than before. It's, of course, linked to all the forms of media, new forms, but also traditional forms of media and citizenship. And the necessity of a continuous, of permanent awareness, I think it's a very important point. The important points too is to develop empowerment for us. When Alton was speaking about safety, it's a real question not to stress too much upon safety. We have to stretch much more upon empowerment, I think, and the capacity of being responsible. I think it's the main word today about media literacy. How to teach, how to to teach about the capacity of being responsible, of deciding, of taking decisions, knowing what we are doing, thinking what we are doing. So we can consider first that media literacy, media and information literacy are now the new civic learning today for the 21st century. And just I finish with a sentence from Grenfell Declaration, a little bit like Alton's, that's funny. And you know, 30 years ago, when UNESCO experts proposed to develop media education in all the country, the words they used are very important to read today. Media, we can consider media as instruments for the citizens' active participation in society. Political and educational systems need to recognize their obligations to promote in their citizens a critical understanding of the phenomena of communication. So let's hope it will be heard.
Thank you very much. And I must apologize. I think I'm so stressed with the time that I think I forgot to introduce Evelyne in the start. So, Evelyne é a diretora delegada do CLEMI, que é o Centro de Ligação de Educação e Média do Ministério da Cultura francês. Portanto, é um centro dedicado à educação para os média. Já ultrapassamos o nosso tempo, de qualquer forma, vamos permitir 2 ou 3 questões. Vou pedir que sejam muito breves e também, depois, as respostas também muito breves, apesar de tudo, para não termos um atraso demasiado grande. Se tivermos questões, 2 ou 3...
Gostava de... bom, não sei se há outras questões, mas de qualquer maneira há uma questão que eu gostava de colocar à Evelyne. Falou na obsolescência, falou na obsolescência dos mídias. Realmente há um certo cansaço em relação às redes sociais digitais. Muitas vezes confundimos redes sociais com redes sociais digitais. Também há redes sociais pré-digitais. Mas pronto... há um cansaço relativamente ao Facebook, ao Twitter, etc. O Twitter talvez um pouco menos. E a minha questão, para ir direto ao assunto, é esta. No momento em que o Google, portanto, está a tentar implementar um search engine ligado ao conhecimento, portanto, a minha pergunta é esta. Como é que nós podemos ligar a literacia à Web3, à web semântica? Porque realmente hoje em dia nós não estamos numa sociedade da informação, nem provavelmente numa sociedade em rede, mas muito mais numa sociedade do conhecimento. Eu próprio penso que estamos numa sociedade de pesquisa, uma sociedade de investigação, porque hoje em dia, quando pensamos em search, todo o cidadão comum pode fazer uma common research, uma investigação comum, ordinária, e é com isso que ele, de certa maneira, vai desenvolver a sua literacia e a própria opinião pública local. Portanto, a minha questão, sumarizando, é esta. Qual a ligação que poderemos pensar, é uma questão ampla, larga, mas qual, no momento dessa obsolescência dos mídias, como é que nós podemos pensar os novos desafios que se avizinham com o Web3?
Muito obrigado, uma questão muito interessante. Aliás, estava a pensar que se calhar poderíamos organizar um congresso para procurar a resposta, é de facto bastante abrangente. Mas vamos mais... mas é sem dúvida uma questão... vamos tentar responder a 2 ou 3 questões em conjunto. Portanto, temos mais questões?
Sim. Boa tarde a todos. Não tenho questão, basicamente queria só... Meu nome é Dinka Mourinho, estou aqui a representar uma associação de jovens, chama-se Boefis. Tenho estado a trabalhar muito na área de média como uma ferramenta de educação, na qual usamos a rádio, também revista e redes sociais, no sentido de educar os jovens para a questão do VIH-Sida. Portanto, é um projeto inovador que no ano passado esteve nomeado para um prémio internacional que é para o uso das novas tecnologias, que é para a inclusão de imigrantes e refugiados. Para mais informações, bastam visitar o nosso site boefis.org e, obviamente, durante o congresso terei toda a disponibilidade em partilhar mais esse projeto inovador que trabalha com jovens dos países africanos de língua portuguesa cá em Portugal. Obrigado. Boa tarde.
Muito obrigado. Mais uma questão?
Bom dia. Eu queria perguntar qual é a perspectiva que existe quando se fala em Media e Information Literacy, em relação a outros conceitos que existem e estão amplamente divulgados, como, por exemplo, multiliteracia ou transliteracia, e que também são igualmente utilizados. Gostava também, se na última autora da última apresentação pudesse dar-nos alguma indicação sobre o estado da arte em França, que gostava de conhecer um pouco.
Muito obrigado. Também são questões muito interessantes. Evelyne, maybe we could start by you.
Your question is a very large one, because of course media education has to consider all these questions about Google and the changes that they promise now, but it's impossible to give an answer today. The only answer I can give you is that all media educators are aware of what's happening, are trying to follow the different choices of Google, but at the same time you can be sure also that as media educators we are going to propose ways of considering this Google evolution and what it means, exactly what it means for the people, for the communities, etc. So it's really impossible to give you an answer today, of course. But the only answer I can give you is that all media educators are aware of what's happening now and developing activities about that. That's all. Of course. I'm sorry.
So, Alton, now.
I want to respond to the question about multiliteracies and transliteracies and the perspective on that. For UNESCO, if you look at the definition for multiliteracy, in some cases that are being used, the concepts are very similar to what I presented about media and information literacy and bringing together the different notions of literacy. The situation with multiliteracy and transliteracy is that sometimes it goes outside of the domain of media and communication. So you start looking at cultural literacy and financial literacies and social literacy and all different types of literacy. So for UNESCO, we want to keep the focus on media and information. The other literacies are very important, but we believe that media and information literacy is a precursor, for example, to cultural literacy. That you need to have basic media and information competencies if you're going to become culturally literate or financially literate. That your quest towards becoming financial literate is recognizing, for example, that you have an information need, that you have information challenges, and these competencies are part of media and information literacy. I think they all come together, they are related, but we need focus. This is what we need, particularly for the education system. We need focus, and for UNESCO, our focus right now is on media and information literacy.
Thank you. Bom, estamos cerca de 15 minutos depois do nosso tempo. Os painelistas continuarão connosco, daí que faria o pedido para que outras questões que se mantenham, para que aproveitem os coffee breaks, os intervalos, para as colocar. Vamos fazer a pausa para o almoço e recordo que as sessões paralelas começam às 14h30, portanto